if the thing that you're most afraid of is the exact thing that you were meant to do. Let's talk about how to stop running and live your purpose. So, first, you need to realize like, what are you running from? Is it fear? Is it self doubt? I think a lot of those things, not having enough confidence that we actually can achieve and obtain that thing that we've been dreaming of, or most people, I say, not even dreaming, people just be hoping or speculating on the chance that something can happen from them. But we essentially never really believe it to be real. We don't really think that, you know, we can obtain it. So we doubt ourselves and we step up and we say things to ourselves like, "Oh, I can't apply for that position," or "the job market's bad," or, "You heard what they said on the news," and we kind of just discount ourselves out before actually having like any ground-based evidence that it doesn't work. And what I mean by that is like, if they're saying, and I'll just use this as a general example, if they're saying that the real estate market is not good right now and nobody's making any money, and you look up and you may have been thinking about getting into the real estate game or market, and you say, well, everybody else is saying it, I'll take a step back. I didn't get in it because, I didn't want to fail. But you don't have any like real ground-based evidence that you aren't them. They and them have other circumstances than you. So you don't have any like real evidence. So you allowed yourself to self-doubt based on environmental conditions, what you're hearing, what people are saying, and your mental tenacity to accept stuff what people are saying. I've learned like this year that people say a lot of shit that ain't even nowhere near remotely true. People run their mouth left and right, and will people will just in an instant say something or say things that just is not based in anything. And you'd be surprised at how much people are in a programming mode where they just accept immediately what someone tells them. And I've been on that road. That's crazy. I really had that awakening this year. And we end up a lot of times based on what people say, our self-doubt talks us out of doing what we need to do to get to where we need to get to. It ain't no mystery of what we need to do a lot of times, but through self doubt and fear, we talk ourselves out of it. And here we are with the big one, fear. What are people fearing for not taking those steps and like just trying to get better? It's the fear of falling, the fear of failing. This Instagram society that we have right now, social media society portrays nothing but the winning. And guess what, people? It's real. Winning happens in life, but that's not the whole of life. You have a few bumps and bruises. You know what I'm saying? Maybe your feet hurting them heels on the way to the Met Gala. But all we see is the Met Gala. We don't see what people did or are doing, good or bad. You feel me? Good or bad, whether it was earned, slithered in, snaked in, you that's the whole of life. Everybody ain't making money the right way, the good way. I'm not here in a judgment zone of to say what's good or bad. I'm not God. I'm not finna, I'm not here dictating commandments to you, but I'm just keeping it real. The whole of life is, yeah, there are all those wins that we see on social media, but it's also real deal stuff going on in the world. And that's a cycle, a process, not a just an eternal state. It's a process, you know. Even rich folks have tight periods, and a few tight years and lean years, or years where they have to keep it lean, or that they have to cut it out. It goes down from the same stuff happened at the top and the bottom, as above, so below. So years ago, when I was doing stand-up comedy, I would be nervous about first getting up on stage, but I never had the fear of failing, like bombing. When you go on stage and you do a whole set and none of your jokes work, no one laughs, you might even get a boo, a heckle, or whatever. It's just a bad set. Most comics, that would be their biggest fear. But the biggest growth came from when you no longer, or the more you were able to lessen that fear, the better you got, because you were willing to try new material. You were willing to be flexible. You were willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to fall on my face. So when I transitioned from doing stand-up comedy into doing content, I never had an issue with putting videos out, because I never really had a care about falling on my face. I really didn't care, and still don't. Like, if I made a bad video, and who's to say it's a bad video? Because half the time I'm judging those metrics. We're judging metrics on, you know, if it got a bunch of views or attention, which, a lot of bad shit gets a lot of attention. So, you got to watch, what kind of attention are you getting, or what kind of attention are you seeking? Are you just trying to be popular on social media, or are you actually trying to build a business? And those were questions that I had to ask myself in this process. So, fear of falling, get rid of the fear of falling. You're going to slip, you're going to fall. And to be honest with you, yeah, I'm not saying you got to share all your bad and dirty laundry on social media or anything, but don't buy into the image that people are just walking around, floating around, getting money. I'm telling you right now, I used to work in 5 star. It's somebody right now going through something, sitting up in a 5 star hotel right now. It's somebody right now on the brink somewhere in a luxury resort. Somebody sitting in a mansion right now contemplating it all. Listen to me, I know it's hard, but you've got to wiggle around this fear thing. You're gonna slip, you're gonna fall. That's real life. And people that can't respect that about you, you can't expect me giving you real life how you know it is, because you live in real life. We can play on this social media all day, but you live in real life just like me. You didn't have your money been funny, as my great grandmother used to say, a time or two, just like mine has been funny, and still gets funny a time or two. So if I want to be real, I'm not gonna don't let having fear because you scared you're gonna get out there and slip and fall hold you back from gaining the knowledge and the experience that you need to get to where you're trying to get to. A lot of years I spent in inactivity because I was scared if I couldn't show a win. I equated that to me not being successful, me not making moves, me not being cut out for it, and stopping the process prematurely. That's for my people like me, like I used to be. We hop from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing and never get nothing accomplished. I did a video on that about how dispersed energy, it essentially accomplishes nothing. It doesn't. So get rid of that fear that can keep you inactive from having any motion. A lot of y'all motion then stopped out here because you scared, because you can't show these cool Instagram pictures and videos. It's rough right now. You got some crumbs on the side of your mouth. I never care. My videos okay. I want. Are you gonna get mad at me because I started shooting videos, and in my initial stages of shooting videos, I didn't have it all figured out. And I was real enough to let you see that. I wasn't trying to hide it from you. I didn't have it figured out. Maybe my editing was wacky at first. Cool. I need to go back and look at that to see my progress. And you need to see the progress, because when I get to a high point, I don't want you to just see me at the top. I want you to see the progression. I want people to see the progression, because if you see the progression from where I started from and where I got to, it can maybe inspire somebody out there to say, "Oh, look, he didn't just start out with his videos and his content like that. He didn't just start out being comfortable and cool with speaking to the camera, but you got to get some rounds in speaking to the camera to get comfortable. How are the news people and these actors, how is Denzel Washington so good on camera? Because he's been in front of the camera a time or two, good or bad. Was every movie he did, every role he had, just knock him out the park? Probably not. But he was on camera. He didn't allow one bad role or one thing that didn't turn out the way that he felt it should have turned out stop him from getting in front of that camera again, because he wouldn't have got better. And fear of falling is helping us not get out there and be willing to fall. I bet you what, like your parents tell you, I bet you won't do that damn shit again. Go out there and start that business. Go out there and aim to rise up in your field or your career and get what you're worth and what you feel you deserve to pay. Go out there and get it. Don't be afraid to slip and fall. I bet your behind won't fall that way. And once they reject you from that job a few times, I bet you won't do that resume that way again. You'll eventually start to figure it out, but you can't figure it out if you're sitting back there in fear and never take action. And I get it. You get scared. It's a lot of things that I'm doing now and working now that I was scared to do because of my age. I'm 38 and I'm like, am I too old to be trying to create a social media vlog? I'm not jumping out of airplanes. I don't have Tesla Model X's that I'm just driving off of cliffs just because I can. I'm not buying $1 million watch and setting it on fire, while I'm playing cards or whatever. Whatever calls for the motion. I was like, am I crazy for trying to even enter in this field? See, that's the fear when it crept up on me. But I was like, you know what? I'll get out here and slip and slide. And I'll tell you, I've made so many mistakes in creating content and in my videos and how I'm doing my stuff, and will make plenty more. But I tell you what, it's like I say, like the old folks would tell, I bet you I don't get out there and do that damn shit again. When I learned that doing one thing is incorrect, oh, I'm a quick learner. But you can't learn unless you make the mistakes. I mean, I hate to say it, but this was a test hack in school. And hell, it's a free test hack if you're out there, is that when you go over material and taking practice tests and learning that you get something wrong is the most empowering. Learning that you get a question wrong or get an assignment wrong, learning that you get anything wrong and accepting it. And once you accept it, and you accept it not as a failure, as a demerit from you, as you being less than a person, or you're not making good videos, or you're not qualified to go and get what you want to, you're accepting it as a lesson. So I went out here and I went for this job, and I got rejected. I was told no. After a few times, I'm gonna start to figure stuff out. See, the problem is that we want to live the winning lifestyle that we see on Instagram, and that everybody out here is fake portraying that that's all life is, that we scared to grab the lessons, even when we taking the L's. Even you got folks right now that's got a bunch of wins in and still can't share the L's. It's folks right now that millions of people would benefit, that are wealthy and rich right now. And if they shared some of the problems that they deal with at that level, it would blow some people's mind and it would inspire many people. So, what can you do with all of this? I challenge you. If you have or had a vision, a goal, you're not living the life that you want, you're not happy, you don't feel like you're getting what you deserve, take this one step. Revisit, write down what you want. Share it with somebody close to you. You need to reignite and get reacclimated with what it is, because we're pushing away fear, self doubt, comfort zones. We're going for it right now. We don't have no choice. We ain't got no choice but to go for it right now. Y'all see everything around us is just falling down and crumbling. We ain't got much choice right now. You already see that. That's in our face. What are you going to do? Wait for it to get better? Don't be no fool and get burned. And what you're going to be aiming for when you reignite and get the clarity on what you want, we're going to be moving a little bit differently than we have before when we went after things or going after this thing. We're going to go for the aim of being progress, not perfection. Progress requires consistent action. We're going to take actionable steps. We're going to do something this time, and we're not going to be so attached to the outcome being perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Even these billion-dollar companies, these billion-dollar people had bumps and bruises on the way. Apple, great company at the top of the food chain, has changed ownership hands, have had models and products not take off, have had prototypes that were never developed. This is real life, but it's hard. I get it, because we're in this Instagram, this social media world where everybody's winning, everybody's perfect, and half of that shit ain't as real as people think it is. I want you to embrace this journey. Growth is going to happen outside of those uncomfortable things, outside of those comfort zones. And I love a good comfort zone. I'm a country boy, so we all about. I was raised, and a lot of us are brought up in the deep south in the country about, if you get something going good, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stay smooth. Stay low key. Ain't no sense of you jumping out here doing too much. Keep it. Be grateful for what you got. Things that are basically, and just based on what was allowed in knowledge. Of, hey, don't make no sudden moves, stay in your comfort zone. And I've had to fight the battle of being so uncomfortable stepping out of some of these zones, but outside of these comfort zones is where the growth is. You trying to go somewhere else. Like, that's what I had to tell myself, is as rough as it sounds. It's like, dude, you're trying to go somewhere else, and look around you. Can these two things merge? No, because you feel the discomfort of where you're at versus where you're trying to go, or what you feel you deserve. And again, this don't have to be no billion-dollar plans. It can be that you just trying to become assistant manager, and you feel the discomfort of where you at to where you trying to go. So those two things can't merge. You got to move along, and you got to move on. Scary outside of those comfort zones. I keep telling you, it was so scary for me to have own my own house before 30, have two vehicles, a great job, living comfortably, and to give all that up for the hope and move to Florida and not really know anybody there was fearful. But the rewards and the lessons I learned and the things I gained were much greater. And leaving all of that and coming to Los Angeles, California, the rewards are great. And it seems like it's this big monster that's, when you're thinking about where you want to be, and it's this big monster saying, you're not coming in here. Like, he's guarding the gate to the life that you want to have. And sometimes many people see that monster there and they take off running. They give up in fear, or they kind of toil and see if they can go around the monster, if there's a shortcut, and then they end up just, again, still running away in fear. But sometimes you've got to step up and face that fear dragon, that monster, whatever it is that's in front of you. You've got to step there and you've got to face it, because sometimes when you have to face that monster that may be guarding that life that you want, it's worth facing it. And then you find out, as you knock down monster after monster, they start to look less like monsters, and they start to be things that you step on and step over into new growth and into betterment for yourself.